Hello, Zoe. How are
Hello,
you?
Ben. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for joining. It's much appreciated. Hope you're doing well, whatever time of day it is there.
It is midday, actually. So,
From midday. Fantastic. That's
yeah,
nice. It's like a lunch break for you, essentially, right?
exactly.
Perfect.
So, what
Love
time is
it.
it where you're at then?
It is 9 p.m.
Oh, okay.
It's the time that I book these sessions usually, so my kids are both in bed. That's the plan anyway. They're not right now. So if there's
I
like
was
a
gonna say,
random
how do you manage
scream.
that? I need to know information here.
No, it works, I'd say like 50% of the time. So it's like I'm just locking the door sometimes so the kids just don't come like running in and whatever.
Yes, I've
Uh,
already had mine. Stay over there. Don't
yeah.
come. They like to run behind me when I'm on calls. So that's like fantastic. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah. I learned my lesson. It was like early pandemic days when we were just kind of getting in the rhythm of home office, and we lived in a different place back then. It was quite a small apartment. It's 'cause sorry, exactly coming from kids are 18 and 21. It's true.
I was just reading that too.
I love
I
it.
don't, if they're 18 and 21 and they're not, I don't know.
Not yet. They're quite. They're 8 and 6. Just turned 6.
Same
Some time
difference.
to go. Yeah, exactly. Close enough, right? No, but my son, when I was in the middle of a telco, and I was actually talking, so obviously I wasn't on mute, and I didn't blur my background because I just hadn't learned my lesson at this point. And my son was in the bath, and he jumped out the bath and just started running around the apartment, just screaming "penis" as you ran around. And I was like, yeah,
As you
okay.
do.
Yeah, as you do, right? As you do. So yes, so I lock the door now, just in case it happens again. I don't know why I do that.
So I could see that. Like, my 5-year-old, my son, he it's not the exact same, but he's like, he tells me when he's going bathroom and what he's doing. Not
Yeah,
care at all if I'm talking or
yeah,
whatever. I'm like,
yeah.
thanks. Could you like give me a slight heads up? So yes.
The Yeah, the information. I remember when I was working as a flight attendant, I was where there was a parent before. This is before I was a parent as myself, and a parent came out of the bathroom carrying a child, and the child just decided to announce that to the entire. Well, actually, to its mother, who was halfway down the middle of the plane, just shouted, "Mom, I just did a really big poo!" And I was like, "Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. This is
Yep.
fantastic."
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
So
exactly what they tell their mothers. Yep.
yeah. So
I didn't
I've
know you were.
started. Sorry,
Wait,
please.
hold up. What? You
Hmm.
were a flight attendant?
Yeah, I
That
worked
is
for.
so cool. That was like one of my jobs I wanted to do when I was
Oh,
younger, by
really?
the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you did not miss much, I can tell you that. I worked for a low-cost airline in Europe called EasyJet,
Mm.
and they have this orange
Yeah, yep, I know.
uniform.
Yep.
You know? Okay. Well, in Berlin, the people who like I'm not sure what they call the garbage disposal or whatever you want to call
Mm.
them. They also wear orange, like a bright orange, like pretty
Oh,
much the
wow.
same shade. So sometimes I'd be going to work at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning wearing this huge orange coat, and someone would try to hand me their rubbish, and I was like, why? Even if that's the job I did, why would I take your rubbish
Why
on
would
like
I
the
take it
train?
now? I don't have my truck. Do I have a truck
Yeah,
here? No.
I don't have my truck. I mean, they're hard to miss, right? It's a big truck.
It's not just hiding.
Oh. Yeah. And 1 second, like the LinkedIn comments don't show. I'm sorry, I don't know. I've actually, it's weird because
Yeah.
last week was the first time I ever actually saw LinkedIn comments showing up. So I'm not sure how that works. I'm sorry. I shall look into it and investigate
Yeah,
first.
LinkedIn always tricks me too, because it like
Yeah.
says, Ben, and it shows me the video. I'm like, cool, I'll watch it, and I'm listening to music. Then I realize like it was recorded like 2 weeks ago, and it's showing me the recording, and I'm like, but
Yeah, that is one of the many, many issues that I have with LinkedIn because by default you always see like whatever, like not recent or like top or something.
no,
And I'm constantly missing. I'm like, oh, that's going to be cool. I'll look forward to that. And again,
yeah,
it's
but
like,
it's like
oh,
yesterday.
yeah. It reminds me when I of like being in my 20s when I would always see like, posters for bands that I would really want to go and see. And it was like a month after the gig had actually happened. Because even in my 20s, I wasn't cool enough to actually go to the gigs I wanted to go to. Um,
Exactly. Well, I had my oldest at that, so I didn't go to those things either. So my
you said
oldest
again?
is 18. So my
Ah, okay.
oldest is 18. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you actually have the 18-year-old.
I
That's
have the 18-year-olds. Yeah. So she's,
yeah.
I still have to tell her mostly.
Oh, fantastic! I love when we came straight in there with stories about our children and the strange things that they do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
None of this introduce yourself
I
stuff.
know.
Let's just
Sorry.
talk.
I was like, wait, I
No,
think
no,
this
no.
is
It's
a new
me.
introduction.
Not at all. That's far better that way, to be honest. But let's do that now.
Okay.
Tell us about yourself, who you are, and what you do, and all that kind of stuff.
So I'm a product manager on the Power BI team at Microsoft. So technically analysis services, which is obviously in Power BI. So it also includes, our team also does Azure analysis services and SQL Server analysis services. So
Very nice.
So,
That
and I'm actually
sounds a lot of fun.
I'm very new to the role. So I just started in February. And
Oh,
before that,
really?
yeah. So before
Cool.
that, I was just doing Power BI work as an independent consultant or in consultancies for many years. So
I wanted to ask because on the kind of stalking around that I was doing before I do these things, I was enjoying your blog and stuff, and yeah, your website actually. The website that now for some reason I can't
I
access.
got
It
you.
just says bad gateway. That's not a good sign.
What's up?
Your
My
website.
website's down. Oh no.
Either that or my internet's about to go off and we'll have other problems. If I disappear, I'm so sorry. It's happened once before.
It was like I think you had one where the other person disappeared, and so then I'll be left here all by myself
Yeah,
instead.
exactly. Just feel free to just disappear yourself if that happens. Anyway, your website's fantastic. I love all your examples of your portfolio. Essentially, very interesting. I really enjoyed it, and it came up at an appropriate time because I've been in a bit of interaction on Twitter the past few days about the visualization side of Power BI, which I found quite interesting. Well, I'll get that in a second because yes, how did that happen? Did they come to get you? How did you end up at Microsoft? I'm sure they just saw your wonderful skill sets and said, "Please come and work for us."
Well, that would be a lovely story, but actually, so I'm not on Twitter very much. I am on Twitter. You found me on Twitter finally, right? And so one of the people I stalk is Upward Christian Wade. So he posted a link that they were hiring, and I was like, I clicked the link, and I was like, that sounds like cool, and I applied. So that's actually how I ended up at Microsoft.
So the very standard process of you applied for a job and you got the job. It makes sense, really, if you think about it, right?
So it's not a very exciting story. They didn't, come and say,
It's an
you must
exciting
work
end
there.
though, because you got to work at Microsoft, right? I mean,
Yes,
that's a really cool end of that story.
exactly.
Anyway, but my point I was going to go into was about your portfolio because I really like the examples that you give, and you have some very nice, clean reports or dashboards, if you want to call them. And reports or dashboards? Reports, right?
Reports.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. I'm so obnoxious, right? One of my colleagues, they handed over me a bit of work because they couldn't do it for a number of reasons, and it was called the something dashboard.
Yes.
What's the first thing that I do? I just knock the dashboard off the end and I replace it with report or just nothing at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Because
I think it's pretty, it explains itself there. It's a report dashboard, but yes, there's a lot of sales
exactly.
dashboard, sales report.
Yeah, but then it makes sense to call something a sales dashboard or a sales report. But you feel like you need that word on the end, but that's what it is, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it is a report or dashboard. Just call it sales something sales.
How to be better at our business. There you go.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Did we do good?
Did we do good?
But I want to ask, how do you feel about that? Because I mean, this discussion about the visualization side of Power BI, and it's always interesting to me because there are so many things that get improved upon in Power BI, so many awesome features that get released, and then sometimes you're looking at the visualization pane. And do you share that opinion, or you're like, I'm not saying that because I work for Microsoft now. I'm absolutely not there.
Wait, so what is the question though? Actually,
It's
I'm not
more
sure I
like,
got it.
how do you feel about the visualization aspect of Power BI? Do you
So,
think it's
yeah,
decent?
so I work for Microsoft now, so I can only say good things, obviously. But yes, but the visualization side is, I think, only a part of the story. So I have to work for analysis services. So the power of Power BI becomes, analysis services and being able to do all the really cool stuff, all your measures, your calc groups, all the really cool things that, bring those measures to life, not and including like Power Query, so you can reshape your data to make it, it's just an end-to-end experience, which I think is really cool about Power BI. But for the visualizations, I mean, maybe straight out of the box, does it get the
love it needs? The visualizations, does it get the love it very, very well?
Maybe what it's cool about it is you can customize it to any report. You can have those themes. Like I use a lot of numerous themes in my reports, right? And so, so I can just load that up. All my visuals are already in that kind of format. And then you have like that format painter stuff like that. So maybe not, directly using exactly what they show up when you first put them in, but you have that full ability to kind of go in and customize it to exactly what you want, which I think is really, really cool.
It is. The only thing that I was thinking about this week that I have never really thought this before, I was asking myself, through the options, through the things that you can do, are sometimes, just sometimes, is Power BI kind of promoting bad practice? I was wondering that,
Well, I don't think it's deliberate.
No, I'm sure it's not deliberate. No, not at all.
It wasn't one of our goals. I don't think let's promote really terrible graphics. No, that wasn't the goal there.
No, of course not.
I was thinking about the other day, and I was explaining to someone, it's like the pool, right? Power BI is like the pool. You have a shallow end for the kid. Yes, like a swimming pool, right? So, you're catering to a whole range of skill level audience. People just, kids, babies, they don't know how to swim. They're the shallow end. But then you also have the people who need, the deep end and have the tallest diving board and do triple backflips into the pool, and have everyone saying, yay, so, you have you have to kind of cater for everyone in that scenario. But yeah.
This is, I can get on board with that answer. I like it. I never considered like a swimming pool before. So
well, I was trying to think of something else where we had new users versus BI pros, who've been doing, analysis services and before that multidimensional, you got that kind of modeling and that back end experience. You're getting that ready and then distributing that to hundreds, thousands of people at the organization to utilize in creating reports and stuff like that as well as just, I just really want to get this stupid chart ready for this next meeting. And I needed to have this thing and this thing and this thing, and I need it now.
Fair enough. Yeah. I actually had a nice conversation this week with someone I work with, my boss's boss, basically. And I was very happy because about a couple of years ago, I created a report under duress. Like I will create this report.
Way to create reports, by the way. But
yeah, because they just want lots of tables, like just a report full of tables. And I was like, really?
Exactly. Like, why you hurt me this way?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, are you trying to upset me? But then just this week they decided, oh, can you actually decide with this report, maybe we can update it and put some like visualizations. And I was like, I can do that. Yes, give it to me.
Finally.
So yeah, it's gone full circle.
What visualization did you choose then?
I'm doing all Deneb.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna. It's the first time I've had a chance to do a report and basically make it 100% Deneb. There's still lots of tables on there, but the pages that aren't just tables, that's gonna be my goal.
You made me say pie chart, but yes, yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, I will sneak on the odd pie chart, even though I know the person, like my boss's boss, he doesn't like pie charts, which I respect him fully for, of course, because it's the correct opinion. But I will sneak on every now and then because you don't get a chance to use them very often. But it's 2 categories. It's pie chart. Yeah. 2 categories, right?
Yeah, it's fine.
Exactly, no more than that though. I was good. This is examples of bad best practice. Yes, I mean basically, I think it makes certain things very prominent. I think tree maps. I really don't like tree maps at all because people tend to misuse them. Obviously, yeah, pie charts, donuts. I think they're too prominent.
Ribbon chart's actually my favorite.
Which one's a ribbon chart?
It's the one where it kind of has the lines going through.
Yeah. Yeah, they're okay. I've never ever used one in a report, but I can see.
I don't think I've actually used one in an actual report, but I like them very much.
I had a colleague today who was going to use a SAN key, which I've never also used in a report. I thought maybe I was trying to push the decomposition tree instead, because they're pretty cool.
Yes, and it's kind of so the SAN key kind of shows like where all these guys ended up over here, or it's like this way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I could have been completely wrong. I was like, try that instead. It's still a little bit cooler than I think than a Sankey. Anyway, yeah, it's just for me. My thoughts were more what's prominent in the things that you can do. Like when there was this update that allowed you to like rotate the pie chart or something. I forget what that was about. Yeah, you could just wasn't. I'm sure there was an update about 6 months ago where you can like rotate the pie chart. Maybe that was some kind of like, I don't know, fever dream.
I have those too sometimes. Yeah, I'm like, I swear that was in here. Like it was here, and then someone has to explain, no, Zoe, it's not. And I'm like, okay,
didn't
cool.
ever happen. It was like a Corona thing. Oh man! But so before you were at Microsoft, before you applied and got the job, which was the process, where were you working? What were you working with? What was your like expertise area?
Power BI.
Yeah. Okay. So like the
so yeah, and mostly just like helping clients adopt. So I was an independent consultant for a while. Going in and helping them adopt Power BI, do migration, doing reports, that kind of stuff. The whole thing. And it's something I really enjoy doing, obviously. So
did you do any like the admin type stuff as well?
What do you mean?
Like the admin side of Power, like kind of like controlling workspaces, or is it like creating the more analyst side? I'm just curious as to what
so kind of like the architecture, like working through like how to use like the development pipelines, when to use them, how I did that video with Enterprise DNA. It's kind of, I tried to do the whole like thing in 1 hour, which was quite a slog, by the way. It took me many retakes. So I did like you set it up, how are you going to communicate with people creating a report, how are you going to communicate with your intended audience, like how are you going to communicate with them, how are you going to access access control, like, and doing that kind of with that dev pipeline, and then having that app at the end as well, and then kind of sharing it back to teams as well. So coming in, like a lot of times clients need assistance with like tenant admin options and settings, and how to set it up, and turn on XMLA endpoint, what that does, if they want to go premium, if they want to do pro, those kind of questions. Cool. And it's kind of setting up the initial model and setting up like so getting all that data into the model, and then also setting up some standard reports, and then kind of walking through all the self-service options as well.
Wow. So basically absolutely everything. That's every single
I even
aspect.
did some embed solutions for a while as well. So,
Wow, that's very cool.
And then utilizing kind of the dashboard, the actual Power BI dashboard, and how to kind of utilize that, and
the actual dashboards.
The actual dashboards, yes, the actual dashboards. So pinning those things and like doing stuff like filtering by a URL. So they had multiple entities and they had the same reports. We wanted to use the same report for multiple entities, and doing like click-through filtering with the URLs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of cool stuff.
That sounds a lot of fun. A lot of fun indeed. Do you miss it?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I love Power BI, so this is fantastic. I still get to work on Power BI, and this time I get to kind of work on the features that we're putting into Power BI, and helping those customers. So there's pain points that I know about and what I've experienced. Now I get to actually say, maybe we should do it this way, that way, and then talking to all these really cool people who make the product. Everyone is very passionate about Power BI. It's fantastic. And so seeing that side of things, it's a little bit of karma, I think. So before I got into reporting, so I was in a different job, and we had to do performance reviews, and I got this scorecard, from corporate, and it's like all these numbers about all my stuff that I had done, like all my performance indicators. I'm like, who comes up with these numbers? How do they come up with these numbers? What are these? Like, how do they even calculate this? And I'm like arguing, every little line item on this thing. And then of course, a year later, I'm building them. I'm building these reports and these scorecards, and, distributing these from a corporate kind of level. And I was like, yeah, okay. So anything I've said about Power BI, I'm like, why can't I do this? Or why doesn't it let me this? So this stuff, now I'm like, oh, okay. Now I've taken that on.
That's cool. I like that a lot. You really just see everything from the other side flip so quickly.
Yeah.
Very nice. Really interesting. Is it like, I mean, it's interesting to, so how old did you say you've been at Microsoft? I forgot.
Since February,
Since
so
February,
4 months.
exactly. So pretty fresh.
Yeah.
How do you find I'm just really curious, obviously, like how does it with the learning curve and the onboarding experience? Is it kind of, how do you deal with it? Is it fun or intense or both?
Yeah, it's fun. I feel very stupid, and then I finally get it, and I feel better. I'm like, I'm gonna get fired. No, but that's like any job, right? You
Yeah.
get in there, you're like, okay, you're trying to figure it out. But no, it's been fantastic. There's a lot of stuff onboarding. Everyone's been very helpful. Very and your videos have been great. You've been interviewing all my new coworkers, so I've been watching these videos. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I know this
That's
person a bit
class.
better. And then I actually meet them in person and actually work with them too. So that's good.
Nice.
But yeah.
Yeah, I read it was a random tweet or something a while ago that always stuck with me, and it said like starting a new job is really embarrassing for no particular reason. And I mean,
Exactly. It's like I know nothing. Well, that's kind of
yeah,
expected to start a new job.
there are so many aspects. It's kind of like, I feel like maybe this is just me, but it kind of like you regress to like a school kid when it's like your first
Exactly.
thing, you're like the new one, like you walk in like, hello, I deserve to be here, I promise.
Exactly. Please don't kick me out. I'm hired.
Especially if you have that experience. I'm not sure if that ever happened to you. And if you ever start a new job and like you have like your laptop's just ready, or maybe the
Yeah.
first few hours you don't even have a laptop.
You have nothing to do. You have literally nothing to
Nothing,
do.
nothing at all, at all. It's like, what are my responsibilities? We don't. We'll get there in a second. Do I
Yeah,
have access to anything? Also, no.
exactly. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing here. So someone
Yeah.
could like tell me. Yeah, no. But so it's a little bit different for me, a little bit because I've been contracting at Microsoft for about 15 years prior to this. So I'm not like
Interesting.
brand new.
Okay.
So I've had experience with work with different Microsoft teams and different product teams already as a contractor, as this is my first as a full-time employee. So it's interesting. So I feel bad for my boss. He's like, well, you've probably not seen this one. I'm like, oh no, I've seen that, and I've done that, and I watched that get built, and so I've been around for a little bit. But it's really cool actually coming back. So I used to live in Redmond many years ago, and when I first started, and then contracting was all remote. So I've been remote for over 10 years. So a very long time, even before COVID. So when COVID hit and everyone's like, oh, we have to work remote. I'm like, I was already doing that. So I actually moved up to Alaska for a while. And then I moved to Oklahoma. Yes. And so I actually, so I'm originally from Australia. And so when I was 12, I moved to Alaska. And then so I did my high school in Alaska. And then I came back down to Washington. And so I went back to Alaska and then was in Oklahoma for a while as well. And then now I'm back in Redmond, which is where I wanted to be. And so I'm excited to be back. And so now I get to see some stuff like I haven't been here a while and see the new things. And then going into office, last time I was in office was 10 years ago at Microsoft, and it was very, very busy, lots of people. Then it's kind of like a ghost town when I first got back. So
interesting. I can't get over the Alaska part, to be honest, because I love really cold remote places.
Well, then you would love Alaska.
I know. I've just got like just so much jealousy going on now. I would, and if someone I know who lived in Berlin, actually from the US, he moved to he got a job in Alaska a few years ago, and on Instagram he posts these photographs of him like on these like mountains with these dark, and I'm like, that's not fair. It's just too.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Also, absolutely cold.
Yeah, fair enough. So, but again, the whole complexion thing. This is the cold is where I belong. Yeah.
I have the same kind of complexion. So, but I think I'm done with. I like temperate. The really hot Oklahoma, really hot Australia, maybe a bit much for me. But Alaska was a bit too cold. I lived in Australia to Alaska. Starts with A. Alberta.
Other places with A.
Yeah.
True, could be. Whereabouts in Australia are we from?
So I was born in Victoria. So and around the Snowy Mountains area, and then actually, so I moved a lot. um, Shocking, I know. And so I actually spent some time like in the outback on sheep and cattle stations.
Cool.
I did some of my school with CB radio, like School of the Air correspondence.
Wow.
They have in Australia, and
Yeah.
so, and then I lived a little bit on the Gold Coast, and then on the other side, in northern Western Australia at a mining quarry. I think I was in second grade, and then in Alice Springs in the middle.
Okay.
So I kind of moved around a lot even before I left, and I left when I was 13. So
wow, this is pretty well traveled. I gotta say, I'm very impressed.
yeah, so well, it's actually kind of funny. I met as it was in elementary school, and I went to someone's house, you know, to visit and play. And she said she only ever lived, she was born and lived her entire life. And she was like 10, you know, in this one house. And it blew my mind. I was like, and I felt really bad for her. And I was like, you've never seen anything else other than this house and this city? I was like, really like, wow.
That's awesome.
It blew my mind at 10.
Imagine.
I was like, I couldn't even fathom it.
Yeah, it's such a different experience of growing up in life. I mean, see, I don't think I even left the UK until I was like 16, 17 or something. It was always like my parents moved when I was, I don't know, like 8, but they moved like, you know, like 2 kilometers away. And so, okay, great, big adventure.
Just on the road.
Yeah, exactly. I was in Australia for a bit. I went to Alice Springs, and I think Alice Springs, they have this. Is that where they have this school radio thing that you mentioned? I think they have like a centre.
Yeah. Well, no, actually, they haven't. I don't know if they have Alice. I was in Broken Hill, which is in New South Wales.
Okay.
It was the Broken Hill School of the Air, but I'm sure they have them in other places. They have a telegraph station in Alice Springs. That may be what you're thinking of. But it's been a very long time since I was there, and I was in 3rd grade. So
I won't push you too many for questions. I promise. It was just one of those. I remember seeing that type of situation. You know, I was in Alice Springs. Very nice. And like, no, I just it's just really nice to have that experience of like being in different places though, and like different perspectives and stuff. And there you are now in so where was it now in Seattle? Was what I was.
So Redmond, it's just in the east of Seattle, so it's just across the bridge there. So but very close to Seattle. Greatest Seattle area, I guess.
I'll just go this question by Jeff because he'll push us back on track. Nice to have a random conversation. I'm all here for the random conversations, and people who come for Power BI stuff, and I forget about that part, you know.
So I work. What part of
the product does Zoe work for at MS, and who does she work alongside?
So I work on Power BI team. So I'm in analysis services, but it's part of the Power BI team as well. And but yeah, so I work with like Christian Wade and all the Power BI people. You know, Matthew, I think, was on the call. I saw him. I said hi. Yeah. So all of the people you see, those are the people I work alongside. So I work on Christian Wade's team. So
very cool. How is it? Have you been enjoying or using the new data marts at all?
I've been reading. I haven't. I played around with it a little bit, you know, because we had access to it before. I played with it a little bit, but I haven't played around it since it's been released. So I was thinking someone's going to ask me about this on this call, and I'm going to be like, I haven't done it yet. But we're getting tremendous good feedback from it. It seems to be really popular. I really am planning on really checking it out and playing with it probably this week. So it's on my list.
I jumped on it pretty much straight away. I realized I had this my PPU license. It was still on trial. I don't understand that my PPU license. The trial seems to go on forever. I think.
Why are you asking about this, Ben?
it's really curious because I swear to God, it's been saying like I think it only. I could be wrong. I mean, does it only actually take the day off if you actually use a function of it? Because I've definitely had my PPU trial for like 6 months. Like, I'm not even joking.
I have no idea. So at an official capacity, I wouldn't answer that, I don't think. But
no, it's fine. Don't worry. I promise. Everything that you say here is not in any way on official capacity. Don't you worry about that.
That's awesome.
Got 3 trials so far.
But yeah, honestly, I don't know. I have my own tenant that I run all my portfolio reports are run in my own tenant, so that was kind of fun. It was actually kind of neat. I was working for consultancy, and I was trying to get them to give us PPU, and I was like, come on, it's just double the cost. Come on, just give it to me, because I'm working with clients that are in premium. I would really like to be able to play around with it when I'm not working on their stuff. And anyway, so eventually I gave up and I just set up my own tenant. Guy in the Cube has a lovely video how to do that for absolutely free. You can set up your own tenant in Azure, and then then I just pay for my premium per user. For one person, it's extremely good deal, much better than a capacity. I'm like, well, I don't think I can swing $5,000 a month, but I could probably do 20.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know my trial ended and I've been paying for it on the side day. So I didn't have that same experience of a never-ending trial. So I'm very jealous now, Ben.
As Matthew says, when my trial suddenly ends tomorrow, we'll know.
It would be Matthew, not me.
Yeah. Someone's like checking all my details now, like what's going on here. As soon as it ends, I will buy a PPU license, because it is a really good deal, though. I mean, I was speaking to a couple of people at work about the possibility of using PPU, because it is very awesome. I just need to come up with some more use cases where we'll actually require it.
You just start doing some AI stuff. Do some your text analytics in there, and then there you go.
Exactly. Or even if we do, I'll make up some needs somehow for it. Is it just me, or is my camera going really strange?
Yeah, it's kind of glitching.
One second, I'm gonna switch it off for a second. I promise I'm not actually moving that way. They really started to freak me out. It was like, am I broken? Is there something wrong with me? Oh man.
There's a lot of comments. Anyway.
Yeah.
There you go. I think to fix it.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. At first I thought I developed some kind of strange twitch, and I was like, one second now. I would definitely be feeling that. Yeah. But yeah, so PPU for sure. I'll get that, and I'll buy it myself, because it's basically it's like double the price, and it's not particularly expensive for Pro anyway. And having my own, one of the best things I did when I first started using Power BI was just have to buy my own license.
Yes.
And I did that very early on, because I realized that if I wanted to really explore all the different parts of it, and this is I was along back in 2017, so a lot of the things that we have now just weren't available then. To be able to understand about publishing reports and how to use workspaces, and for the sake of what was I think €9 a month or something, and it's just for me it's kind of like paying for a course, but like a very, very cheap version of it,
Exactly. You have your own playground. You can do whatever you want. And then for me, it was to get into those tenant level settings. The admin settings. See what's all in there. How do I do that? What happens if I do this? Turning on the XMLA endpoint, read write on and off. Being able to then play around with any kind of visualization, any custom visual. And I always say it wrong, but I always say charta calculator, but it's charticular, I think. Anyway, I cannot say it for the life of me, so don't quote me on it. But I love it, and I get to play with it. Yeah, charticular. So there you go.
but now I think I really want to call it charta calculator, because that sounds so much cooler.
It makes sense to me, like to say it out. It does. Like that was like a chart and a calculator together, but merging in pathway was bothering me.
I never even thought about that, but it does in a strange way make sense. I like it a lot. But if that sort of thing, it's ideal. So I'm hopeful when using PPU, it's exactly the same thing, really. I always like when people talk about what they should do when they start using Power BI. I know it's an expense, so you can't really say you should do that, but I always recommend just spend that little bit of money each month themselves to use it.
Yeah, and I think so you can and it's really great because you can do whatever you want. And I really like the development pipelines, especially when I was especially doing client work, and I'm very big proponent of kind of like source control and stuff, and keeping the PBX files somewhere safe. It was very nerve-wracking, having them just in the workspace, and then you download from the workspace. And I was like, why? No, don't do that.
Yeah.
So
I discovered this issue that I had with when I sign on to my VPN for work. If I if I'm opening the PBIX, and if I at that moment, if my VPN drops out, it completely ruins the PBIX. Like it's
Really?
yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. It's but basically I can't be reopened, it can't be repaired. And it's only happened to me once where I had no backup and I was just more, it was just ruined. I always back everything, but I always like, and for me it's just like, it's the same with publishing a report. You know, you publish like your pre V1 just so you can have it, you just have it somewhere, right? If you need to download it, it's a perfect way to do it. Perfect, but it's pretty good. And I hadn't done that, and it was just, yeah.
Oh, that's so sad. That's so sad.
Yeah, it was not a good moment for me. So
But so when I first started using Power BI, you know, and I started using it at Microsoft actually, because I was a contractor at Microsoft, so it was, you know, we had to use this thing. I don't know if it was pre-release or not, and you know, and I didn't realize, and it might have been before desktop. So I was doing everything on the web, and you know, and so everything was there, and it was very frustrating to me. So I was like, if I make a change and someone comes in behind me and makes a change, and then we don't have any kind of backup. So I always started putting mine in DevOps repos. So because I'm like, if not, then put in a SharePoint folder with the was it the draft and the I forget what it's called, the version control turned on. So that way, and I just do that. So before I was doing Power BI, I was doing Excel, and so I would always keep my Excel files in a version controlled SharePoint list, you know, so when, you know, someone helpful like my boss came in and did something to my Excel file and broke it, then I could just go back and revert to my last one on there. So having that kind of control over the files, like when I started using Power BI and having the PBX file, then that became where I put it in the source control. And it was, you know, I always kept it on the DevOps repo, and I started using Visual Studio to kind of keep them in sync. So that I would never be in a situation where if I broke something, and then also, you know, taking a copy and then working with the named one. So when I published it would overwrite, but then I'd have like backup versions, not only for, you know, not only for just in case something goes wrong, but also then I can show comparisons. So I can say, this is what it looked like before, and this is the changes I've made, you know, and that kind of stuff to kind of compare and contrast.
Yeah. Interesting. Cool ideas. Cool ideas. I like it. But I forget who we were speaking to a few weeks ago. I was talking about this concept of improving like desktop hardening and improving.
Yes, I've heard these terms.
Okay, yeah, I forget them straight away. And version controlling, improving that sort of stuff in Power, which would be, I mean, it's great the things that you do. I mean, and I've even considered doing like a version control and SharePoint makes perfect sense. But to not have to do that would be even better. So maybe that's something
exactly. Having it built in is, you know, obviously the goal. Christian, you know, it's with Christian Wade, and you know, he's telling me about that stuff and his hypothetical universes. So yes, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, one day we'll get there.
Exactly.
Just this thing about, you know, the biggest heart attacks coming from not being able to find where I save files is absolute classic when you think you've lost an entire day's work because. This is absolute. Yeah, we've all been there for sure.
Yes, absolutely. It's the panic of like, I don't remember anything. So I know one of the things, you know, I used to have one of the consultancies I worked with. I was the dev manager of a group of BI engineers who would work with different clients, and so I'd try to get out these best practices to my team and everything. But sometimes we work on the same project, you know, so then you had a problem where I edited it and then someone else that didn't realize I was editing it, you know, so we can use ALM Toolkit, which is Christian Wade's ALM Toolkit, to kind of, you know, compare and contrast. And that was fantastic. And kind of having that built into would be great as well. So
that would be very cool. Okay, well, some things to look forward to, right? See,
even if you forgot what you named your file, and you found, so maybe you created a folder and then you created then you saved it somewhere else, and now you have two files the same name, and you're like, well, which is the one that I created that thing in, or what did I do here? Did I do something else here? You know, so that can get you out of that situation as well. Sync them up.
The classic one that I've done a few times now is because you know how. Obviously, if you're in the visual view, the visualization view, you can't simultaneously look at the data view. But with Power BI, you can open two file names or the same file at the same time. You can do that.
Yep.
And I was like, I've got a genius idea. I'll open the same file twice, and then I can look at the data view and the visual view at the same time, which in my head I still maintain sounds like a good idea. Where it falls flat is if you like, if you've got more than one screen, especially if you like switch around a couple of times, and it's kind of like you play that game with the cups and you kind of put the stone under the cup and you got to guess which one's which. It's like that, but like with a PBIC, so you don't know which one is the one they've made all the updates on and which one is the one.
There's no updates.
Yeah.
So if I hit save now.
Exactly. And
I think that would be too much for me. I don't know if I could work in that situation.
If I was just like a little bit more intelligent, I'd just create a new page with a big thing that says, this is the new one. Something like that would be so easy to do. But I lack that level. I lack those IQ points to get into that level. And so I was just in a terrible...
Well, I just Control S all the time without thinking about it. Like I would mess up that scenario so quickly, and yeah, it wouldn't be pretty.
Good point. I think I became arrogant with Control S because I thought when I first started using Power BI, I realized that it didn't crash half as much as Excel. So
oh my God.
Right, and I was like, I don't need to save anymore, and I got out of a habit. And I was just kind of like, this never crash, and then obviously it does crash, and you're like, oh, but then it's just because then you're broken all with Excel. It's like literally like every other thing you do is Control S.
Yes, like I don't know why bolding is like the most like for me, like I try to bold something in Excel and it like crashes, or at least looks like it's going to crash. Yeah, I don't know. It's just bolding. I'm like, why? I'm just bolding something and it's like, I don't know what to do. Usually it comes back if I wait long enough, but yeah.
Then in Power BI, it's WebView 2 now, right? That's the issue that I've had since WebView 2. It's like, oh, I've had Power BI open for like 2 hours, but at least it warns you because it starts to slow down. And as soon as it starts to slow down, it's like, okay, it's like Power BI is telling me to take a break, save it, close it, go and get a cup of coffee, reopen it.
Yeah, so like I have like coworkers, my friends, who work in Power BI, and they'll like they leave the Power BI open and then they like, just log off and like go to sleep and then come back and they have it still open. And I was like, what is this? Like I'm like, I can't do that every day. I'm like, I close everything down, restart my computer, make very nice, because now Search Engine is all in memory, so it's just eating memory, like it's going to keep it in there. So I was like, I wouldn't recommend that practice of keeping it open for days on end. And like, it crashed, it broke, and everything was gone. I was like, well,
so you were kind of asking for trouble there, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I used to when started working from home, I really took time and care to, at the end of every day, I would shut my computer down completely, everything, close everything. But now I don't, simply because especially since I've started using like Vega Lite and Denev and stuff, I have such an organization of chaos of tabs open and I know where they all are. And even though there's like 35 here, another 25 there, if I close that, it's like I'm never going to find where I know these ever again. So yeah, Power BI, I'll shut that down, but my computer, no, it's
oh really? Oh no, I can't. I restart every single day, like every single day.
I mean, it probably saved my energy bill as well, right?
Yeah, probably.
At the end of the year, I might regret that. I might regret this. Yeah, okay. I think it's a bit, people saying I keep the many things open to close down every day, but I feel guilty about leaving the PC on all the time. I feel guilty about it, but I still do it for sure.
I always worry, like, if there's like, because in Oklahoma especially, we had a lot of thunderstorms and tornadoes and things like that, so the power would go out. So I also would worry that if I left it on, and then we had a surge or something, it would actually break the computer as well.
Yeah, blowing up is always an issue. We don't have that sort of stuff. If I had the concern that all my computer stuff might blow up, I would unplug it very, very often. I can tell you that.
Well, I don't think it'll blow up, but I don't want it to come any harm to it either. So
okay, fair enough. So You know, I think I was going to say before about Oklahoma. It's one of those places. Do you know, like there's this thing where Europeans say that the people from the US don't know anything about like European like geography,
Mhm.
which is tremendously unfair because people from the Europe tend to know very little about US geography. It's just very far away.
Very one-sided kind of argument, yeah.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, it's almost like what's like, what are the US states or where's this? And I
Oh.
don't know. I know nothing about Oklahoma other than I think it just makes me think of like a musical because I suppose the musical Oklahoma. So I just think of like carts and like stuff. What's Oklahoma actually like? Is it like a proper city or I don't know.
So it's right above Texas. So it's Mexico,
Yeah.
Texas, and then Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of geography-ish. And then, but yeah, I mean, it's very flat. There's
Okay.
it's Oklahoma. There's Oklahoma City, which is the main city. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Makes
I mean
sense.
that's pretty much all I know, honestly. And I
Okay,
lived
fair
there for a
enough.
few years. So that's all I got. It's very hot and humid, which is bizarre. That's humid, and it has the Air Force and Naval Base, which there's no water, but it's because Navy has some airplanes. So
So that has a naval base, but no water, but aeroplanes. There you go.
yeah, it's an air depot. So yeah, but yeah.
Okay, fair enough. That explains that one. Thank you for that information about Oklahoma.
So that's like all my information that I know there. So yeah, and then but yeah,
I mean, basically,
when
if
I
it.
came, well,
Sorry,
when
please.
I came from Australia, right, and so then I had to learn. So all I was learning up until like 8th grade was Australia geography, Australia history, and then I moved to exactly extremely South Kansas. Exactly. It looks like it has like a pan shape or a pot shape, really. Anyway, and anyway, so I moved to America, and I remember when I was getting ready to move to America, and I asked my teacher, we were doing human society and its environment, one of the classes we're doing, and I was like, why don't we study America? They're very similar to us, there's no point. I'm like, okay, cool. So then I got to America, and I was like, well, yes and no. We both kind of speak English and stuff, but like everything's in miles and Fahrenheit and very different things. And then they have the kind of same surface area, like for the country, but like there's 50 states versus like I think like 7 in Australia. And so I'm like, I had to study really hard, because we do states, we'd have to do states tests and the capitals in the states, and then it was terrible because if I did well, then the teacher would be like, okay, so how come the person who didn't grow up here did better than all you lot who have been here your whole life? It was a terrible experience.
Yeah. Kind of using these as if they can do it, why couldn't you do it? Yeah, I understand.
Exactly. Like
the metric thing is really strange because obviously I grew up in the UK where we kind of do a weird mix of both. Like we do like feet and inches, like all that, but we do miles, but we use Celsius, and then obviously, but I didn't know my own height in metric until I moved to Berlin, for example, or my weight. It was all like still very imperial. It was like such a strange thing. But the one thing I cannot understand is that I love to bake, right? And I'll find this recipe on this website, and you're gonna, if it's not, I tend to just use the BBC website because it's just very to the point. It's like use this, do that, it's done, finished.
Exactly. Not like the whole blog article and the video like before I get them. Like, just tell me the recipe.
Yeah, it's like 15 years ago I was traveling. I don't care. I want to make a cake. All right.
Exactly.
But then you get to the recipe, you do all your scrolling, close scroll more. It's like you need 3 cups. I was like, a cup. 3 cups. I was like, what is? I've never heard this weight or unit, a cup, before, until I started using that for me is just beyond anything, because what's that? Is that like a strict? Do they use cup outside? I mean, not like an actual cup that you drink.
I know, and
like
then
the
you
weight.
look in your cupboard and you're like, well, is it this cup
Yeah.
or this cup? Which cup?
Which cup? It's like if I just use it, can it be like any cup? Is it magic? If I just use a cup, will it just work? Really strange. Oh man.
Yeah, then you have to have like a measuring cup, and I'm like, okay, cool, this is nice, thanks.
Yeah, what's it? A metric cup? I'm not sure if Dev's just made that up, but then probably. But it's just I don't know. It's like, why does all my cakes taste bad? Because you just use a random cup. That's fine.
I know when I was a kid, I was just like, whatever cup I found. Yep, sure, this will work.
Yeah.
And it goes.
That'll do. Yeah,
That'll
at the end of the day, I just want to eat some sugar and eat some cake. So I'll just and so let's go back to the BBC website and I know where I am again. Anyway, all good. Round talk about cakes at the end.
But it's actually kind of interesting about like cake, right? Like, because all the recipes I use a lot of recipes from Australia and trying to make the recipes here, and it's a lot different. Like they don't have like self-raising flour. You can find it, but they usually just plain flour, and then they add the baking soda or baking powder.
Same in
baking
Germany, yeah.
Baking powder. And then, but in Australia we had like bicarb soda and I forget what the other one was. And then the self-raising flour and like all this kind of stuff, and I was like, it's different. And it's different, but it's enough that I couldn't actually make the cake I wanted, and it was very frustrating.
I can tell you the strangest thing that I still remember from Australia is I was working for a bank, and in this bank every Friday they would have like a buffet or whatever. And someone, and I forget what it was called now. Maybe please you can tell me the name of it. It was basically a slice of white bread with some butter on it, and then some like sprinkles on top.
Fairy bread. It's fairy bread.
Fairy bread, right?
Fairy bread. Mm-hmm.
What is that? I was like, what's happening right now?
It's just like butter and sprinkles on bread. It's like fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's just butter and sugar, right? I mean, that does taste really, really good. Like when you're making your cake mix. As actually happened with my wife a couple of months ago. I was making the cake stuff, and I had some butter and some sugar.
The butter and sugar, and it's fantastic.
My wife had never tried it before in her entire life. Never.
Oh gosh. Wow. And
I was like, try it. And she said, oh, it's really good. I was like, yeah, it's butter and sugar. Of course it's really good. It's like, I could just sit there with a spoon. But the fairy bread is it called?
Fairy bread, yeah.
Fairy bread, yeah. I also get the name of it, which is strange because my surname is Ferry, which is very close to Ferry. It should be like very easy. Like my kids...
Maybe why it doesn't stick.
Yeah. Maybe, yeah. But I had to explain to my kids recently that, because obviously their first language isn't English, that their surname isn't fairy, it's ferry, because like a fish. Like, no, not like a ferry that flies, like a boat that goes in the water. I think they're disappointed. I think they'd rather be the ferry, to be honest, but what are you going to do?
They're like, hold on, this is not the story I've told to my friends, so we're just going to go with the magical one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's much more interesting for an 8-year-old, right? It's like than a boat.
Exactly. But yeah, the fairy bread. I it's like I realized I eat a lot of butter. As Australian, I don't know, like I love butter, and so. But anyway, I had to cut out butter again because apparently butter's not that great for you.
So I've been told, right? I made a conscious choice at the start of the pandemic because. I thought, okay, what do I prefer? Do I prefer drinking alcohol or eating cake? And I was like, I prefer eating cake. So I just stopped drinking. And I was like, I'll have cake instead of alcohol. Like, who cares? Yep. So
like one of you guys has got to go. Yeah.
Right. So maybe at some point I'll skip out cake and put in alcohol again, but I don't think so. It's too much fun to eat all that cake, to be honest. Yeah. Anyway, mate, it's been over the 45 minutes, and I don't like lying to you to say no. Just sorry. I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time. I know it's in the middle of your day. You're on your lunch break. I don't want to get in trouble with your new boss. And as people here know, I could talk for a long time about pretty much anything and everything, but I won't take up too much of your time. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, chatting to you about your new job and about random stuff that also comes up along the way. So thank you.
Thank you.
And everyone in the chat who's been getting involved, it's always much appreciated. It's much more enjoyable to have you here asking questions and kind of listen to me speak about my random stuff. So I'll be back next Thursday. As ever, I've forgotten who will be on next Thursday, but I'm still looking forward to it anyway. And if you enjoyed this, maybe click on the subscribe button on my channel. If you're listening to the audio podcast version of this, do whatever the podcast version of subscribing is. I don't know. But either way, thank you very much, everyone. And take care. Have a lovely rest of the day wherever you are. And goodbye.